Okay, what is going on, everybody? This is episode 12 of the Burning Sage Podcast, and I'm here with Big Time Mel.
What's up, everybody?
Mel, tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Me? Oh, hi. Yes, so I'm Big Time Mel, and basically a little bit about myself. As everybody knows, I'm from Chicago. That's
Chicago?
The big thing. That's the big thing about me.
Mm-hmm. That's why you're on this podcast.
Yes.
I wouldn't have let you on otherwise. You know?
Oh, my God. I'm so honored.
Yeah.
What about all the other schmucks? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Right.
Just kidding. So no, that's a little bit about me, obviously, in the comedy scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved here. Oh, man. I moved to Washington January of 2023. So definitely over a year now, which I'm very proud to say. And then, multifaceted person. So we could talk about a lot of different things. I'm into spirituality, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bird mom. I mean, wear
bird
a lot of hats.
mom. Wow.
Yeah.
I think I remember one of my first interactions with you. I said something. I gave you a compliment. I was like, you have good energy or something.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh, yeah, I'm actually an energy healer.
Yes.
What does that mean to be an energy healer?
So I got into this several years ago, actually. So I'm a Reiki master. So that's a modality of energy healing that took me a couple of years to learn how to do all of that. I had to get a teacher, go through classes, go through trainings, did all of those fun things. And then when I finally got certified, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's a spiritual practice, so I feel like that's kind of
Reiki. So is that makes me think Buddhist or like
so it's in that umbrella. It's in that umbrella, definitely. And essentially, what Reiki is, to clarify, is I don't touch the person. I just got Reiki attunements into my hands, which are different symbols that before I do session on somebody, that I kind of scribe into my hands. These are attunements that were passed down for me from my Reiki master teacher.
Oh, wow.
And you can actually trace it all the way back to thousands of years ago when it got started. It floated to a couple people and it expanded and expanded and expanded. There's different versions of Reiki, if you will. So I got some attunements, and I learned how to do the practice, which is essentially, again, not touching the person. If what you're really doing is you're just holding your hands over the 7 different centers, energy centers of a person's body, or their chakras.
From head all the way down.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
So the chakras, energy centers, whatever you want to call them.
Do you have a favorite one?
Yes. So my favorite chakra would have to be actually my solar plexus, which is at your stomach, because that was the one that was so weak for me when I first started, and then I really turned it around. So I have a special connection with that one because it was my worst one for a long time. So
how does that manifest? Is that kind of like GI issues kind of thing? Or?
Yeah. Actually, I used to have really bad stomach problems, so that's the physical symptom of it. But it can also manifest in terms of a emotional side of it too, where I'm getting kind of you get butterflies in your stomach, or that kind of thing too. That's more emotional based. So that could be a symptom of it being out of balance, if you will. So really, I would put my hands over the client's chakra centers. Then I'm giving healing energy to them, and then I'm feeling things on my end too. Like
you're receiving the energy too.
Yeah, because I can feel their energy. So I would be able to feel which ones are out of balance, which ones are in alignment, which ones are overactive. You couldn't have too much of a good thing too, right?
That's scary.
Yeah. And usually if one's overreactive, the one right next to it is usually underactive,
because it's about balance.
Exactly. So, Reiki, people can believe it or not believe it. I know the whole reason I got into it is because I had a Reiki session done on me. I felt the benefit of it. So I said, oh my God, I need to learn how to do this so I can do it for other people. So that was the whole, reasoning behind that. And essentially, I used to have my own Reiki business. I did that for a couple of years. So I did have clients. It was a side gig, totally a side gig, but it was really cool. I mean, I've worked with, over those past couple of years, I worked with a lot of people. And I'm really happy to say that. And I still go to virtual Reiki shares because Reiki is like a prayer. I don't have to be in the same room as you to work on you. I mean, I've worked with people in other countries, all over the US, virtually over Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, they were able to receive benefits. I would have repeat customers. So a benefit of it, I mean, there's so many, but to kind of give a broad understanding of it is you feel like this warm healing energy. Sometimes certain parts of your body will go from hot into cold. Afterward, you feel very relaxed. And it's really a guide to your energetic system more than anything, because me as a practitioner working on somebody, I would feel, hey, I'm working, let's say, on your heart center. I'm feeling chest pains. I'm feeling myself having chest pains. That's how connected you are with someone when you really tune into their energy, you know, and they give you permission to do that. And there was people that, hey, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I would say, hey, I'm feeling like I'm having respiratory issues. Does this relate to you? And they're like, oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, I actually have asthma. And I didn't know that beforehand.
Wow.
One lady, I said, I was working, you know, over her stomach, and I said, are you pregnant? And she's like, oh my God, yeah. And she wasn't showing yet. It's not like, oh, it was a 9 month woman, you know. No, she wasn't. She wasn't showing yet. And she was like, I am. And then I really tuned into the energy, you know, of the baby. And I said, it was too soon to know the gender. I'm like, you don't know the gender yet, right? She's like, no, I don't. And I said, I think it's a boy. Let me know. And then a couple of weeks later, she said, yeah, you were right. It's a boy.
Holy shit.
Which I understand, 50-50 chance there, but I did get it right. I'm going to give myself some credit there. Yeah. And there's more examples like that. And those are physical things, but there's other times with emotional things, you know, things that are private between me and the client, but things that I would pick up on as well. So people who are doubters, these were people fresh off the street. I don't know them. There's no way I would know any of this about them. So those were interesting things. And then, how to heal this. And I was starting to get intuitive messages when I was honed in on their energy. And I would say, hey, you know, do you really like to garden or something? And they're like, oh my God, I've been wanting to get into gardening. And I'm like, I think that would really help you with your, sacral chakra, where creativity comes from, because that's been kind of depleted, I noticed on you. And I think gardening would really help spark that creativity. And then this is a suggestion. This is me suggesting things. They can take it or leave it, and they'd be like, oh my God, no, I really want to try to do that.
That's really like beautiful though, because it feels like with a lot of that kind of stuff, it's all very gate kept, you know, in terms of like religion, spirituality, not in a bad way, but it's just like, yes, to be able to do that for someone seems really sacred, you know. Were you religious at all or spiritual before that?
So, I mean, I grew up Roman Catholic, but I do consider myself a spiritual person ever since I kind of got into the metaphysical world, if you will, because it's more than just Reiki with me. It's kind of a little bit layered. And I just really leaned into that in like a darker time of my life, and that's what helps me more than anything. And to me, God conscious, Jesus conscious, it's the universe.
Right.
When I'm praying,
like divinity.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm praying to the universe, and that for me, you know, that encompasses God. So I'm not going to say, oh, I don't believe in that. I do believe in that. But to me, that is the universe. Yeah. It's all one thing, because we are all connected. So yeah, I agree with that. But I also agree with it. It's a little bit broader than that for me.
Right. I was raised very like a-religious, anti-religious, but when I went to California and then came back, like I entered psychosis, but some of the things that I saw like shook me to my core, you know, and since then I've really like had a lot more spirited experiences, you know, and like I see signs and feel divinity and all that. I don't know if I believe in like the Christian God yet, but like I have certainly seen signs around me that point me that way. Like, for example, when I was at my inpatient, you know, like I was in psychosis when I went there, but a lot of these people, they felt very biblical. Like they were like examples of that. And there were like Bibles around, you know, as if like, hey, you should pick this up. And I'm like, nope. And then I would still get lessons or like these things. And there was one time, there was a guy in there, I can't even remember his name, but in my head, he was kind of the manifestation of, like, God, you know, to me. And I was looking at the TV, and I was making a joke about, like, God, you know when Kermit was, like, talking to Cookie Monster, saying, it's an orange, you know? Like, what's up with Cookie Monster? I'm totally Kermit. And then this dude never talked. And he was like, are you sure about that? You know? And I was like, what? So I still think about that all the time, and even before we went up today, I was going to do a joke about that, but then I just lost it.
Yeah.
How did you feel about your set tonight?
Okay, so that was 90% new jokes that I've never done before. So considering they were new, I was pleased.
Yeah.
I was pleased, and some of it was just improvised, which is what I wanted to do tonight. I really lately have been just doing my new stuff. And it's liberating because I feel like my old stuff, people out here haven't heard it, so it's new for them, sure, and I could lean on that and have a at least mediocre set, but I don't want to do that anymore. I feel like that's more just for, hey, if I'm doing a showcase and I'm doing a feature set, okay, you can lean on your old stuff then, but I'm really getting a rush off of my new stuff, and it's prompting me to write more. So was it my best stuff? No, but for what it was, it was good, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about my set too. I really loved the beginning when I just kind of like held that moment, and I was just like trying to, because I was watching everyone do their sets, and the audience was always just like away, and I was like, what if I just didn't talk for like a little bit? And then everyone zoned in on me, and it felt like the rest of the set, I didn't kill or anything or even do that great, but everyone, I could see people in the back like scoffing at me, and I love that. Like, I get off on like just attention, even if it's not good, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see in something like this, even if they're kind of like blowing you off, they're listening. That means they're listening.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So I feel that totally. No, I mean, I haven't been back to Whiskey Miles since I did my feature, so it was really nice to be back. It was really nice, just to come back and everything, because I missed it. I just, with work, as you know, not that it's an excuse, but...
Right. Do you keep track of your sets? Like, do you number them?
No, I can't say it would be a lot. I can't say I've ever done that. I've kept track of, like, where I've gone, where I've performed, but that's really it.
Do you ever get out to Tacoma?
Yeah, I have done Tacoma Comedy Club. I have done that one. Yes.
That's one of my favorites.
It's a good room. It's a good room.
And even outside of just TCC, they got a lot of good ones, like Spuds and stuff. These are places where like the club comics will all shit on them, but they're so much fun when you go in there, and it's like the Wild West. Sometimes you'll have two dudes at the bar just drinking, and it's horrible. And then other times you'll have like the bar's full, and then the best set I ever had there was a 5-top that came in, and then the first person that was opening was like, what brings you guys in? And they were like, oh, we're here, we just buried her husband, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. And then everyone's just bombing one after another, and that to me is just like the most delicious thing ever. I'm like, oh gosh.
I love the authenticness. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm somebody who laughs at things like that probably aren't funny to most people, but it's just when someone's not even trying to be funny and they just say something off the cuff and you're just like, oh my God. And I can't stop laughing at that kind of stuff. And no one else is laughing, so I look crazy.
Right.
But I'm like, but no, they're having such a real moment. It's so just like endearing.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what you were saying about like improvising a lot and getting a rush from that. I mean, long term, my vision is like when I get a studio apartment, I'm gonna build a stage in there.
Cool.
And I'm gonna invite people in to do a set, but I'm gonna be directing them. And the whole premise of it is like it's like topsy-turvy, just trying to throw them off and get them to go places they won't go normally.
Yeah.
You know? And maybe I'm thinking like 4 or 5 seats or something, bring in, like they can invite a couple and then I'll bring a couple of my buddies or something like that. But I would love to see like a show like that done eventually. Or I love like God mics, for example, you know, where they can interrupt and stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
As long as people know you're doing a God mic.
Oh my gosh. Did you?
Yeah. As long as they know ahead of time what's being done.
Have you had an experience with?
No, but I know what you're talking about. Like, you know, sometimes I could see that being off-putting if someone's like, what? Are you just being an asshole? But if you're like, no, this is the shtick, buddy. This is it. We're doing it right now. That it, you know, then it can land.
That happened to me at the Shanghai Room the first time I hosted. Maria Elizabeth was like setting the mic up for me. I'm like, can I do a God mic? And she's like, oh yeah, of course. Do whatever you want. And as soon as I went up there and introduced everything, I forgot to call it a God mic.
Just be like, FYI, guys.
And then I had people come up to me and they were like, hey, you know, it's like wrong to like interrupt people during their set. And I was like, hey, it's a God mic. Oh yeah, I didn't say that. Okay. You know.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Totally.
Okay, let's get into it. So what would you say, Big Time Mel, the value of family is to you?
Ooh, we're getting deep. No, I mean, I'm close with my family, even though we're 2,000 miles away. So,
what does that look like? Do you guys talk every...
Yeah, so I talk to my mom multiple times a week, and then my sisters maybe twice a month, something like that. And it's more because they have kids and...
Yeah. You're an auntie?
Alive. Yeah, I've been an aunt for 18 years. My oldest
God.
is 18. No, my nephew is the one who got me into Tyler, the Creator.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And, oh my God, so I told you we're going to Lollapalooza in Chicago. Well, I'm going. And my nephew's going to be there. It's his first Lala. Because he wants to see Tyler, the Creator. And I'm so excited I'm going to see him there. And
Hell yeah.
I want to take a picture because he'll be 19 when Lollapalooza runs around. And I'm 34. So I want to take a picture with him and be like, am I too old for this shit? Because a whole bunch of like teenagers and people in their younger 20s who go to Lala. But I still go.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So going in August, super excited about that. But yeah, so no, family is important to me. And I think the thing that, you know, when I think of my family, I think they were such a good role model, all of them, for what to do and what not to do. I think you can learn so much about what not to do from people who are raising you or people you are growing up with, and they taught me that. And they're all, you know, successful people. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying they just never left Chicago, and they, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that,
insular.
Yes, more of so in that respect, or they, you know, follow the dotted line, you know, nothing negative. Just, I said, man, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. That's all. And it kind of prompted me, to get out of, you know, the narrow scope of things, because, I knew what my life would look like if I just, you know, followed X, Y, and Z.
What would it have looked like?
Well, it was that way for a while. So, you know, I did everything the way I was supposed to do it, quote unquote, right? So I always had good grades. You know, I finished college. I had my degree. I got a good job. I worked in HR for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I worked, you know.
You worked in HR?
Yeah, can you believe that? It doesn't
Holy
even
shit,
make sense. It doesn't even make sense.
It's so cool that you're like a spawn from that, though.
Yes. And I did that, you know, I made good money, and I had a nice apartment in the city and all this stuff, and I just said, I'm not happy, though. This isn't for me. I can't do this for forever. I was doing what I felt like I was supposed to do, and it just came, but I was like, well, what do I really want to do? And I was always under the notion of what you want to do is like what you enjoy doing as a kid. What you enjoyed doing as a kid. So I always kind of like went back to that, because this took time to discover even what do I, if I'm not doing this, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to do then? I have to do something, right? And I was always the funny one, you know, even in school, like the boys would get more attention, but I was funnier than them.
Right.
And I knew I was. And I'm like, I'm better than penis jokes. I'm better than that. They got some good ones, but and they knew I was funny too. But of course, the boys got more attention about that. And so it was always, I was always, that, or the fun, you know, just wanted to make things fun. And I always, you know, I grew up on Seinfeld, and I just always loved comedians. And I always thought comedians, these are the best type of people, the good ones, the good ones. The funny ones are not.
You should have seen the look in her eyes when she said that.
I was like, you know what I mean? Because comedians, good ones, they're intelligent, they're brave, and on top of it, they're funny. That's a side note, that you're funny. You are a brave person, and if you're making good jokes, you're intelligent. I mean, what is there's people who say, you know, I'd rather jump out of a plane than do public speaking, right? There's people who would say that to you, and to me that's insane.
Well, no, that's my dad. You know, my dad's very like that. Like anytime I tell him about to do stand up or any of that, he's always like, you know, like he does that, and I'm like, I could go up there, and I have been for the past while. Like I haven't been locked in with my jokes, and it's still the rush of my life, you know, just to get up there, and afterwards I could feel my energy just like pulsating, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it is such an adrenaline rush for me, for you, because you get it. My purpose of doing it is, yes, I love to do it. Yes, I like to try new bits and get the adrenaline rush, but you're bringing joy to people. This is imperative. I can bring joy to people by making what you do, by making art. That's bringing joy to people. Writing a book, that brings joy to people. This is my talent. This is how I can bring joy to people. And especially making people laugh. And I mean, comedians, we're known for having depression. Mm-hmm. Myself included. And people who have depression, to go out there to try to make others laugh because they know what it feels like to be low, and they don't want other people to be like that. That is transmutation at its finest. Transmutation.
Explain, go into that.
Yeah, that is, I have something that, let's say I'm sad. I have something negative that happened to me, and it's about me, so I can make fun of it, right? I can make fun of myself all I want, and I do, you know, because it's me. I have that advocacy, right? So if I can turn something negative that happened to me into a joke and bring joy out of it, and maybe that's my medium of healing, and then that maybe someone else has gone through that or a similar experience, and now we have this thing in common. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh
well,
my God.
that for me, like some days, because I still struggle with PTSD with like the abortion that I had a couple of years ago, and then there's days like today when I did that abortion joke, it felt great, you know, but there's other days where I really just like halt, and then I fall into the pit. You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck! But then I get up and do it again. You know? That's why I love stand-up. Because, like, the premise is you can go up again. And it's so easy if you're able to do that. You know? Like, there's so many mics around. It really is such a beautiful thing. And such a rare thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's so little of us.
Especially out here. I mean, I'm used to there being, you know, mic on my doorstep, you know, I mean, literally, I was so used to that. So this, it's much smaller, you know, much smaller scene, but you are noticed so much more here because I don't have there's not as much competition out here, right?
Right.
So you got to take the pros with the cons, you know, like, I had to drive 20 miles instead of walking down a block. That's just, I knew that going into it, so I don't complain. It's really fun. The community is something that I always, you know, it always intrigues me because it's always a cast of characters. And just, you have that bonding experience because we are all comedians to different degrees. So it's just, even just like riffing with someone, they get it. They get it. Like, there's time for, like, I'll have a jokey conversation with someone who, you know, doesn't have that mindset, and they don't get what I'm doing.
Right. Like, or you try to poke, like, for me, it's like poking the bear. Yeah. Or sometimes, when I was really in my mode, like, I did stand up for 34 days in a row, you know, and I was just, like, getting up there. I got to the point where I would write jokes and have my joke card in my back pocket, but I wouldn't look at it. Okay. You know what I mean? And I would, like, just poke constantly. And all it was about was connecting with the audience. And sometimes it would go awry, and I got so good at, like, bombing and then rolling off of it and making it funny. You know what I mean? And that's the recipe for me, you know, is like to go up there and just, like, say some off the wall shit, and then that I believe, you know, or I find funny, and then just roll into it. Or I really like people have told me, oh, Sage, you're a premise machine. You know, you're really just edging me off here if you would write a fucking punchline, you know? And that's just not the way that my brain works, you know? Like, I love to go up there with, like, all these premises and then find the punchline or find the anti-punchline, you know?
Yeah, and you know what your style is.
Yeah.
And even if it's something that's developing,
yeah,
you know,
right.
It's still, you have a base. You have a base and you're working off of that. And because I'm a storyteller. I've known for that, you know.
Did you ever do improv?
No, I think you've asked me that before. I haven't. It's always something that's intrigued me, though.
Yeah, if you're a storyteller, oh my gosh. Because that's my first dose of performing, if you don't count, like, childhood, you know, where you're just playing, was in 9th grade. I auditioned for the theater sports team. And then every year I did theater sports, which is competitive improv, where it's like you do scenes against another high school and you do like a certain game and it's judged off like entertainment, narrative, and technicality based on the rules you set up. So I come out of that, and that was like the fucking highlight of my life. And like there's Seattle theater sports.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, like those, like that is... or around the U.S. at least. Like, they are that is the Olympics from the Greek ages of, like, improv, you know? Like, and the old heads there, too. Like, they started that, I think, back in the 70s or 80s, and it's still been going. It's a little bit more commercialized now, obviously, back in the day, I mean, like, the whole gum wall started because of them.
Oh, see, that I didn't know.
Like, isn't that crazy?
Wow, okay.
Like, yeah, and when we would be doing these improv, like, competitions and stuff, we would always get to the Hogan Cup, which is you get to go down to Pike Place and perform on their stage. And it was so funny because every year we'd be like, we're gonna win this shit. And we would get destroyed. We would get, like, ones across the board. And everyone backstage was just, like, so pissed off. Yeah. And I was just sitting there enamored with the situation. Just, like, under the spell of it all, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the experience. Yeah, no, that sounds fun for sure. I did see some improv at the Seattle Theater. Man, I can't remember what it was. It was like last summer I got like a free ticket or something, but it wasn't theater sports. It was something else, but now I'm intrigued to explore
We should go, dude.
I know, I would be down because it's something I really wanted to see, like good improv. Like,
yeah, well,
solid.
that's the thing that's like so tough too with improv specifically, aside from stand-up, because stand-up, I mean, it's kind of like you get the shit sandwich of an open mic, which you accept, which can have good parts, or you pay for a gig for someone you love, you know, like Adam Ray or Mark Norman.
My man. Oh, my man. Oh, okay. Also, Mark Norman's coming to Seattle.
I'm gonna go. I want to go see it so bad, dude.
And I saw Adam Ray when he was here a couple months ago because he's, you know, from Seattle.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was so good. It was sold out. It was. I mean, how I didn't piss my pants, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I met Adam.
Where?
At Comedy Bar in January.
Oh, yeah. That's when he was here. That's when he was in town. And then, like, the next night, I saw his show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
He was so cool. Before I went down to LA, too, I've talked to him in, like, the DMs and stuff. And, what did he had some, like, wisdom for me. I'll tell you after the podcast. But,
this is top secret stuff, guys.
Well, I just don't want to, like, fucking, you know.
Subscribe to Sage's Patreon for $9.99 a month, and you'll hear all the top secret stuff. There we go.
$19.99.
Oh, shit. Never.
Sorry.
That was more than, my OnlyFans was $9.99 a month. You were really
$9.99
stretching it here, little bit. Okay.
Have I told you about my OnlyFans idea? It's actually a joke.
Is this Patreon material? Should we be telling people this? Okay. This is up to you.
No, never mind. We'll
better pay the $20 a month.
$20 a month for Patreon.
Yes.
But no, we were talking about Adam Ray.
And
what was I? Why did I riff off Adam Ray? I can't remember.
Because you met him, and he's like
and he's very cool.
He's beautiful, and you think he's very handsome. I don't know what.
Oh no, he was. Gosh, I can't even remember. We were talking about improv.
Yes.
Okay, so with improv, it's just maddening because I did this stuff in high school where. The top year I was the captain, so I had a team of like 12 people, and I would get to kind of like influence the games we would play and all this. But now, if you want to get into improv, you have to start at level 1. And when you start at level 1, it's like God bless these people. But, like, see, you always have the Michael Scott that pulls the fucking gun out. You know what I mean? In the scenes. And I am just, like, my whole life I've been yearning for, like, a troupe, you know, of, like, 6 or 7 people where we can just go do, like, long-term, dude. 30 years out, I want to be able to do, like, an improvised play on Broadway.
Oh, dope. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that would be insane. Like, imagine, like, you and, like, 4 people, and then you go out on stage, sold out show, somehow, and then you're like, okay, what do you want? Do you want, like, do you want a horror show? Do you want a drama? Do you want a comedy? And then you can kind of keep going down these things, and then eventually you get, like, a title, and then lights out, lights up. And, like, if you got it to the point where you could have, like, a team build a set for you, too, that you just, like, stairs and shit. Because I've done theater and all that, too. And, like, it's so easy to make, like, a... Not really, but... Well, yeah, really. To make, like, a farce setup where it's, like, all these doors and stairs, you know?
I can picture that.
Yeah, right? Like, wouldn't that be so fun?
That would be fun to play with, for sure. Now you're sparking another memory. So when I was in Belltown last summer, actually, I did see an improv show. It was the one, it's advertised a lot. It was running for quite a while where it was a tarot card reader, and she would have people come up on the stage. And she would pull cards for them and ask them, like, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then the troupe would do a whole little skit based on whatever the reading was. So it was
really?
a nice concept. Yeah,
That's
it was
fun.
like, you get this reading, now you see it, like, acted out.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was a good one, for sure.
When I was in LA, I did a tarot card mic where you got to, you would pick a card and then you got to riff off that.
That sounds incredibly hard.
It was pretty fun. I can't remember what I got. I got like the 3 of Cups or something.
So they have to tell you what it means, right?
Right. You got like a
knows,
host right there.
Because I used to read cards, but this is many moons ago, so I'm very hazy on it. But
How many moons ago would you say?
Oh my god, maybe like, I don't know, 3 years ago, but that was a long time
That's
ago.
That's like 1,000
for me.
moons ago.
That was right. Thank you. Yeah. No, that was Not to circle back to the beginning, but yeah, I used to read cards, and then that was a service I did, and then I used to do some astrology stuff, like reading people's charts, but I don't do it anymore.
You're not into astrology
I
as
am
much?
still into astrology. I just don't read people's charts.
Can we get into astrology?
A little bit, yeah. What would you want to talk about?
Oh, just like, okay, what's your sign?
I'm a Capricorn. I am a Capricorn. See, when you ask people that, you have to give the big 3.
The big 3.
Otherwise, It means nothing to me. So I am a Capricorn sun, and then Capricorn moon, and a rising Cancer. Those are the big 3.
I think
sun, moon, and rising.
Okay. Okay, you got Cancer in your chart, though. Is that your moon?
It's my rising.
Your
sign.
rising.
Yeah. My moon is still Capricorn. So I'm a double. Some people, you could be a triple Capricorn. A famous astrologer actually is. So it just means, and then also, in terms of astrology, we have a birth chart. I'm keeping it really basic for everybody. Don't get scared. I'm going to keep it really basic for you, because we could get hairy, but I won't. We all have a birth chart. We know this. Okay.
We do. We know.
Okay, right? Yeah, okay. Because I can answer back. So a majority of my planets, right? It's a chart.
Right.
And then planets are going to be all over the chart. A majority, and I'm talking almost all of them, which this is rare, and many astrologers have told me this, are all in the same spot in my chart, okay?
Damn.
And a majority of them are also in, you guessed it, what sign? Capricorn. So I'm a very strong Capricorn. And they're all, I believe it was the 7th house. It was the 6th or 7th. I believe it was the 7th house. I'm a little hazy. And so when they're all in the same house, you have a very strong purpose in that section.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, you are here for this, and that is it. And sure, you can have other life experiences, but this needs to be accomplished in this life. It is imperative.
Wow.
So
you use that word a lot. I like that word.
Imperative? Yes.
You know why I love that too? Is because it kind of glosses over imperialism in my head.
You know what? Yeah, I could see the similarities.
Yeah. I like that though.
And mine it was the house of, to keep it broad, work. So whatever I do for work is very important, and it's going to be the main focus of my life. Like, yes, like I said, I can have these other life experiences, but it's always going to center around whatever my life's work is very important. So, and you come into this life, you know, we all come in with different purposes, different paths, whatever, right? But, you know, and I got into astrology quite young, so it was kind of like I always had this underlying thing of, oh, I better not mess up, or
Right.
oh, this is going to be affecting, you know, more than just me. And my whole thing, and it's in my chart too, is it's all about the greater good, whatever that looks like. And just through your life, you're constantly developing what I'm doing is impacting the greater good, but in what medium? That's why I kept saying the word medium too, because
That's such an important word
Yeah.
for me too. Medium, yeah.
What is mine? What is yours? What is everybody's? And it's based on what I said earlier, our gifts and our talents. And it's discovering that and what we actually like to do. Like, I wasn't bad at HR. I was quite good at it, but I didn't like it. So it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I can be good at something and not like it. I can be, you know what else I'm good at? Flossing my teeth. Don't like it, but I'm good at it. This is how much it doesn't matter just because you're good at something.
Right.
You know, it's the same. I'm just using it as an example.
Don't floss, everybody. That's what we're doing.
Oh, no. I mean, floss. But if you like a water pick better, that's okay too, you know? That's
Right.
metaphor for life. So yeah, I was into all that kind of stuff, and it was really fun I took a lot of astrology classes. Like I said, people paid me to read charts for them, and it was fun because I was discovering myself, and I was helping other people discover themselves, their talents, you know, what they're good at, all of this. And it's still under that same umbrella of constantly, while I was working on myself, I was helping others work on themselves too, because hey, I got through the beginner level and now I'm at intermediate and you're still at beginner, and now I can help you with that. I can help you with that hump of it. So it was fun. And then I also learned how to do Akashic readings on people, which very simply what that is it's another word for it would be like a library. So we all have many life paths we could have taken. There's all these paths, right?
Yeah.
You decide to take a certain path, but if you did it in a parallel reality, there's you taking another path.
It's going on.
Yeah. And then there's all your past lives. There's all future tense lives. There's so many parallel realities, which I'm a big believer of that. And
really, dude,
yeah.
same. I've been feeling like every day when I wake up, I'm in a new parallel universe.
You kind of are.
Right.
Every
because
moment
the universe,
you are.
because the
Yeah.
universe is developing. It's breathing the way we are, you know?
Yes.
And I mean, that's the crazy thing with this AI stuff is that like everyone is going to become like we're going to become so much more aware of our synchronicity and consciousness. Mm-hmm. And like, do you believe in that idea of the singularity, meaning like we are all the same consciousness?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so you get it. You get it. All right.
I'm like, yes.
Thank you.
I know so, yeah.
I feel like I've been going insane, dude.
Yeah,
like,
no, we are all. And if, again, people can believe it or not believe it. I don't impose my thoughts on people, but yeah. So Akashic Records, it's that. So I would be able to tap in to people with their permission, and I would get certain messages again because it was happening when I was doing the Reiki. It was already naturally happening. So I'm like, what is this?
Like a double.
Yeah. So then I learned how to do it properly. I got a teacher. I took classes on it. I practice. I still go to Reiki shares virtually with other practitioners. Sorry, Reiki and Akashic Record shares. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I do both. And we do readings on each other. And what really happens in a reading is, for me, what happens is I get a tool, I get a character, and I get a location. And then, because again, I'm a storyteller, so this is how it comes through for me.
Holy shit.
And then a story starts developing, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a rabbit. We're in a forest. We have a wand. What is this? What is this? And then I'm connecting with their guides, and then the story unfolds, and then they go on an adventure, this rabbit, let's say, and then I tell it to the person, and I'm like, what does this mean for you? I know what a rabbit means for me, but this is not my reading. This is your reading. So what does this mean for you? And then they're like, and I don't know these people. And they're like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And all this stuff comes out. And I tell people, I'm like, tell me if you think I'm bullshitting you. Tell me right now. You paid for this.
Right.
I don't care. I care, but I know I'm doing this out of pure intentions. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, the story unravels, and
that is so like, oh my goodness. That's people. Liberating, dude. Like,
it helps people so much because they're just like, oh my God, you gave me clarity about this. Or I really feel like I connected with this. And they're, it's for whatever with them, but and again, I don't share like personal details, but there's been so many things where it's like, they're like, oh my God, how did you know that was my spirit animal? Or, oh my God, this reminded me of this. And that's what it's for. Sometimes I've gotten into past lives. People think that's all it is, but that's only a small morsel of it. So yes and no.
Can we talk about that? Like past lives and what that is?
So for me, anytime because I've done it for myself, anytime I've been able to tap into a past life, what I've noticed what helps is the records are going to tell you the message that you need to hear the most right here, right now. So it's always going to be a different message. So whenever I've tapped into a past life, they show me in a past life that is very prevalent to know now. So when the pandemic was going on, I said, show me a past life where I've lived through a pandemic before. And I got one. And right away I got, what was that one where people were wearing those masks where they looked like crows? I can't remember. I think it was
Renaissance, Black Plague.
Black Plague. Thank you so much. That was it. Black Plague. Where, you know what I mean? They kind of had like that crow looking nose. And I said, I didn't know if it was going to be Spanish flu. There's been many pandemics, okay?
Right.
Anyone who's here in this reincarnation, you've probably lived through at least one before.
And when you're going through these past lives, do you think this is directly in your lineage? Or are you thinking even further out than that?
I think it was me.
Like the wisp of your spirit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way I've interpreted it. So this is just an example. I went through one for me because I can talk about my own readings. And I was getting this image, and it was this guy, and I'm like, my God, he has like a mask on, but something's pointing out of it. Like I kept seeing, I'm like, what is pointing out of his face? It's like a beak. And then I got that image really quickly of the mask, and he was on a horse, and then
is it like a
all this stuff was
snapshot
coming.
of like film almost, or is it more like a still picture for you?
It's kind of like a still picture, and then it's kind of like when you're dreaming.
Yeah.
It's like that, and this is when I'm in deep meditation, then I get feelings, if you feel panic or you feel relaxed, and then I'm getting thoughts, and I'm here, you're getting work, everyone is going to interpret it differently based on what their skills are. But I was getting that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is giving me so much, because it was I could go in more detail, but I won't, but it was very comforting to know that I've already lived through a pandemic in a much more severe case, and I handled it well. It was that's what the message was. It's like, you did this already, and you did it 10 times
Hold
harder.
my beer, yeah.
Like, get over yourself.
Okay.
So, and then the good things that came out of it, and there was, it was a whole thing. So, that's like an advantage of getting a reading. But again, you have to be open-minded to it. I don't impose it on anybody. And again, it's something I did when I had a business. Since then, I go to shares virtually, but I don't, when I moved here, I didn't renew my business license, so I don't do it anymore. And it's not just the fact of, I had to get a new business license. It was done. I know when I came out here, I still take the wisdom and knowledge of being able to do those things and having those experiences with people and healing myself and all of that kind of stuff. But I just knew when I came out here, I'm like, that's not the theme anymore.
Right.
It was just, I just felt it in my soul. It's like, you did it already. You did it already. It's completed. And even my last year living in Chicago, I still had my business. And even when I was doing the sessions on people, I enjoyed doing it, but it wasn't, I was like, man, comedy's more.
Yeah.
That was kind of like growing or percolating while I was kind of wrapping up the last one.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time to know. When I came out here, I'm like, yeah, it's going to still be comedy. And whatever else brought me out here, the whole reason people ask me all the time, Melissa, why did you even move out here? They're like, oh, was it for a job? Was it for a man? No, it was for neither. I was divinely guided for the last 2 years before coming out here that I needed to come here.
Seriously?
I was getting very strong messages. So what happened was 2 years before I moved out here, I was just online, whatever, and I was looking up pictures, and I was on like Pinterest, and there was all these pictures of like Washington. Okay, like the mountains, the forest, and forest has always been my aesthetic. And I said, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I need to go there on vacation. So a couple of months later, I went to Seattle. I went to Issaquah.
Issaquah,
yeah,
dude.
of all places, right? Kent.
No, Issaquah is beautiful. My my great aunt lived out there.
Okay.
And she had a place where they had like an amazing garden, a big yard, raspberries would grow. So when I was really young, like my dad would take me and my brother there, you know, and that's one of my like imprinted on me, one of the earliest childhood memories.
If I could live anywhere in Washington, it would be Issaquah. It's just I'm not in that price bracket.
Right.
I live pretty close to it. So whatever, I went there and I said, I really like this, but I still feel like I've done mainly touristy things. And I went with a girlfriend and I said, I really need to come back and do it by myself. So about a year later, I planned a solo trip, and I was researching places to live in Washington. I knew I didn't want to live in Seattle. I didn't want to live in another big city. I wanted to live, you know, in an Issaquah type area. I kind of stumbled upon Renton in my research. I'm like, okay, this would fit financially. I like where the location, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I need to go back one more time by myself. So I took the train from Chicago to Seattle, which takes 2 days.
What, dude? Oh, that's so awesome.
It takes 2 days by my big girl self, and it was so much fun, this train ride. Can I tell you some things about this train ride?
Yeah.
It was so fun. There was people from all over the country that were on the train ride, and it was a bunch of like young people, a couple old people too, and we just like stayed up all night and told stories.
What?
And we took even a group picture at the end of the ride because we had so much fun with each other, and it was a blast. And then I came to Seattle, but I really wanted to explore Renton. Okay, that was my whole reason for coming. So what I did while I was on this epic train ride, I just made a Bumble profile and I said, hey, I don't live here. I'm going to be in town for a couple days. Who wants to be my tour guide? Which was, again, not for everybody. So I matched with a couple people, but I matched with one guy. He seemed really cool. And I'm like, oh, do you live in Seattle? Where do you live? He's like, oh, I live in Renton. I'm like, get out of town. What are the odds? And he was the best looking one. He said, he's like, when do you get in? I said, I get in on Wednesday. And he's like, I will take you out Wednesday. And I said, well, actually, I signed up for a mic. Guess which mic it was?
Wednesday?
Guess what mic?
Flight Path. No.
In Cap Hill.
No. Comedy Bar?
The other
Jai
one.
Tai?
The other one.
Club Comedy.
Comedy.
Wow. Okay.
So this is me being like super naive. So I emailed Rick and I was like, hey, I'm a comedian from Chicago. I'm going to be in town for a couple days. I want to be on your mic. I come in Wednesday. And he's like, okay, you're on. And now I know how rare it is to be on that mic. Right. I've only been on one other time since then. And I was like, I'm telling him I want to be on it. So I was on it. So,
laws of power.
Right?
Whatever, yeah.
It was meant to be totally.
Yeah.
So I come into town Wednesday morning, whatever. And then the guy calls me and he's like, oh, I want to take you out tonight. And I'm like, I'm going to be at Club Comedy doing a mic. If you want to meet me there, you can meet me there. Because that was my priority, you know? So he did. He comes to the mic.
Wow.
We had a great time. I did a good job. We went on after, got some drinks, whatever. Okay, cool. Then I was staying at a hostel, your favorite thing to do.
Fuck yeah. Dude.
Oh, yeah. It was my first time at a hostel. So I was staying at the Green Tortoise right across from Pike Place. Super dope. And then I was...
The Green Tortoise. What the fuck?
I know, that's the name of it. I didn't name it. I don't know, but it was a really cool place. And then I was only supposed to be in town for 4 days, and this guy, I don't know, he like didn't work that week or something. I don't know what this. Go to work. I don't even know. And he was like, "Oh, you're only in town for 4 days. We're hanging out every day, and this is what I wanted. I wanted a tour guide to show me around Renton, right?" And he did it. He showed me everywhere. I made me feel really comfortable about living there. He took me, this was around Thanksgiving. He took me to 2 Friendsgivings.
Oh, wow.
I went to 2 parties. He took me out, all this cool stuff. And then I was supposed to go home because I already booked my train ride back home. Then Amtrak calls me and they're like, oh, your train, something's wrong with your train. It's canceled. But you can leave the next day. And I said, no, I can't leave the next day because then I won't be home in time for Thanksgiving.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
A Chicago Roman Catholic family Thanksgiving.
I have to go be home for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, I didn't even tell anyone I left town. This was a last minute thing. Like, no one even knew I was out of town.
Oh,
because I'm very impulsive. And
yeah.
And then, so whatever. So I was like, can you guys just refund me my money? And they're like, yeah. And I said, okay. And then I said, you know what? It's a two-day train ride, but it's a 4-hour plane ride. So I'm looking up flights to get back, and I found one that would bring me home the night before Thanksgiving. For some reason, it was the same price of the Amtrak ticket. It was like super cheap flight, which makes no sense. There should not be a flight that cheap right before the day before Thanksgiving.
No.
The biggest travel holiday of the year. It was insane. It was literally the same price. So I used the money from the train ticket for the plane ticket. And then I was like, I got an extra 2 days out here. So I told him, I'm like, I got an extra 2 days out here. He's like, well, I guess we're still going to hang out. So he just didn't work, whatever. We just kept hanging out. He took me everywhere. We were friends, though. It was totally, like, not even anything weird. It was just, like, he wanted to take me out. And he was like, Melissa, I had so much fun with you. You reminded me, like, just to have fun. I had a great time. I really needed this. And I was like, dude, like, I'm moving here. Like, this is it. Like, I'm sold. Like, I had a blast out here. This was so, like, spur of the moment. I mean, this is a sign. I really fell in love with the area, all this stuff. So then that was end of November. I made it home in time for Thanksgiving, everybody, in case anyone was wondering. So end of November. So literally beginning of December, I signed a lease to my apartment here in Renton. And I moved in January, the next month, January. So my lease in my old apartment in Chicago was up in like March. So I had to pay a little bit of a fee there, but I was like, I need to go now.
Wow.
You know when you just know?
Dude, that was me when I was in LA. I was like, I cannot come back here, like back up.
I feel that. I feel that wholeheartedly. Yeah. I was like, I need to go right now because I knew if I waited till my lease was up in like March, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
It wouldn't have happened. So I was like, I need to go right now.
It's like that idea of you need to strike while the iron's hot.
Yes.
Mentally, like when you're on one. Yeah.
Totally.
In a good way.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I moved out here. I am so glad I moved out here. Nothing against Chicago. But I just needed this. The nature. I wanted to be somewhere with nature. I needed this. It was very important that I came out here. I don't even know exactly why. I think I'm getting bits and pieces of it as time goes on. But I don't care. Happiness is enough for me. And I got work right away when I moved out here. I mean, I had an apartment. I was approved for an apartment before I moved out here. So I'm like, okay, I have somewhere to live. And then when I came here, I got work right away. So I said, what do I need? I have money. I have a place to live. I'm
happy.
I'm happy. I have food in my stomach. Like, I wanted to live here and I am living here. And it was just such a strain when those 2 years that I was still living back home. It was just like that yearning. I know I'm not supposed to be here. I know my time's running out here. And just knowing that in a month I was going to be living here, I was just like, oh my God, I just want to see the day when I have Washington license plates on my car. I just want to see the day when I can change my address. It was just so embedded in me, and it just makes so much sense. And I know it sounds so crazy, but when you know what, it just feels right. I go everything off of my intuition. If it feels right, it is right for me.
No, I'm the same way. Like, just to bring it back to astrology really quick, I'm a Pisces.
Hell yeah.
I got Pisces the same way you do with like a lot of houses aligned.
Cool.
I'm that same way. Or you said the planets, right?
Well, the planets are in that sign.
Right.
Yes.
The only planet I remember that's not that way is my Mars is in Aries.
Ooh, that's the home planet of Aries is Mars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where Aries, Mars feels most at home because it's their ruling planet. So I'm trying to say, like, Capricorn's ruling planet is Saturn. Aries' ruling planet is Mars, so that's a good placement, but go on. Yeah, no, and so I feel very, like, emotional a lot of the time. Like, my emotions are really, like, high highs, low lows, kind of with bipolar, too, but, like, I can rock with it, at a certain level. But yeah, when I came back
from Seattle. I was at an inpatient, and then when I got out, I was just immediately like knee jerk. I need to get back to LA. I got to get back to LA. I got to get back to LA. And it finally got beat down on me. I'm like, I could do that, but like, dude, I gotta build a foundation here and actually appreciate this city. And my dad, like when I was at the inpatient, I had no idea what I was doing when I got out, because I wasn't able to go back with my mom at my mom's house. And I was like, my dad doesn't even want me living there, I don't think. But they had set up, like, I get to live with my brother till the end of June there. And then I'm going to be able to get my own, like, studio and be all this. But, yeah, just growing up in Seattle, it's very easy at this point. I'm 26, right? So I have, especially with comedy and everything that I've been into, like comedy, improv, all these things aren't out in nature, you know? And then my grandfather died in 2016 too, and he was out in Idaho, northern Idaho. So when we would go out there with him, it'd always be like we'd be fishing on this lake or doing that kind of thing, or West Yellowstone when I was 10, you know? So it's been very interesting to start to reconnect with nature, and it's very small at this point. It's like going to a park, you know, that kind of thing.
Baby steps.
But I want to get back out into the Cascades so bad. And I'm also a skier, so I ski a lot. But I didn't get to ski at all this year because I was hitting stand-up so hard. Yeah. Like when I started stand-up in October, I was just very like, oh, I could go skiing? No, I gotta go hit a mic. And then there would be a couple of times where I'd be like, well, I could ski and then hit a mic after. I'm like, no, I won't have the energy. I need the energy for stand-up, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's been really cool. And then, okay, here's another thing I think you'll love is I've been thinking about the gun, right? God, universe, nature. And that is like the holy trinity for me right now, just in terms of centering myself, because I get pretty overstimulated when I notice synchronicities and stuff a lot, because I have a lot that I see. Like I'll look at like graffiti, you know, this kind of thing, like numerics and colors and stuff. Like I see all that. Like when I was in psychosis, they were all moving around all the time. But now it's like I see them and I'm just like, what does this mean? You know?
What is the meaning? Yeah. Translate.
And the first couple of days after I got out, it'd be like, I'd be on a walk and I'd like look at something and I'd be like, I gotta decode this, you know?
What are all these fractal images?
Fractal images, yeah. Or, I mean, it's weird stuff though, man. I mean, it's like people now, like interacting with people is just different, you know? Like some people like look at me and they just give me this weird sadistic smile, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck? Or like I'm driving down the road and I notice certain things, or... But it's all in the plan, you know.
It's all also part of being a highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know. That's why, like, when people have, like, bad energy or, you know, whatever you want to call it, I can't be by them. Like, you know, it's so difficult. Like, it upsets me so much. Even if they're not doing anything to me, it's like, I just don't want to be by them. Like I can move myself, right? You know? I mean, I get the thing with the synchronicities and everything, it's all around us, but yeah, some people don't see it, so to them we look crazy or something, but it's there. There's so many, the Fibonacci sequence or whatever you want.
What's that?
Oh, there's like that one, and then there's like the other one where like everything, like a leaf, everything that's like in nature, if you break it down mathematically, it all has the same sequence in terms of shapes and just different things. If you get to, you know, smaller scales of it. So these are facts.
Right.
These are facts.
Well, and it's like mathematical. And dude, yeah, it was crazy because in my psychosis, I had a mode I snapped into where you talk about like past lives and all this kind of thing. Like I felt like any icon that I'd ever thought of. At one point, I was like, how am I making sense of this arithmetic right now? Like it was all mathematical, science, all this. And I was thinking about like Einstein, and I started to think about the concept of time, and I was like, holy shit, this has all already happened. We might be in a movie right now.
Well, time isn't real.
Exactly. It's a human-made concept, so we go up to work and we do all this stuff.
That's why people are like, well, how come when I do this, time goes slowly and that time goes quicker? It's because it's not even real. It's conceptual.
Conceptual, that's the word for it.
Yeah. To me. again, I always do that disclaimer because other people might see it differently.
Yeah, or hypothetically. That's another one I like to use.
Yeah. But no, that's the thing, and it's when you're talking to people who aren't thinking like that are not like-minded, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
I don't even waste my breath because they don't get it, and they don't want to. So I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but it's not going to make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
And also, this is something I like talking about. I did not come up with this concept, but I believe in it wholeheartedly, and it made a lot of sense to me. There's NPCs. We know it from like a video game. Non-player characters. There's a lot of them out here, okay?
Literal.
Yes. And I know when there is one, and it's like you try to talk to them, and they don't understand what you're saying, but you're speaking just like a regular conversation. You're talking about something really basic like the weather, and they just can't respond properly. And it's not that they're slow or anything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these are people,
actual NPCs.
Just regular NPCs, and you're not supposed to interact with them, and they're just filler because this is a simulation. And so of course we're gonna have them. So of course we're gonna have them, and I don't want anyone to be offended by it, but it's just a fact to some people. And that's really frustrating.
To me, oh my gosh, dude. So when I drove back up from LA to Seattle, when I first got here, I was showing my buddy around downtown, and the way they were walking, just being out of Seattle for a while and coming back, and I was in psychosis, like super high. I was like, oh my God. Like, it was so frightening to look at like how, deeply disturbing, to look at how robotic everyone was, and every single person you looked at was on their phone.
Always.
Which is always, and even there's like non-players, but yeah, I think of like life as a game, and like the way I think about it too is there's of course tons of NPCs, but then occasionally there's a player, and when you have a player, that's where you have to learn to like kind of like, feel them out, shut the fuck up, and not like tell the wrong person the wrong thing, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's scary, man. It's like going back out into the world. I'm like, a month and a half removed. I'm still really rebuilding, rewiring my brain. And like, there's days where I go outside and I'm like fucking frightened. Like I'll be walking to my car, and you see the color of this. I'll see a guy walking his dog, and it's the same color.
See, that is weird. That's weird though. I'm with you that everything has a meaning. So that is, to me, that's something that I would notice too.
Yeah.
Most people maybe wouldn't, but no, that's a thing. That's like, why? Like, what is this message? Like, okay, I was in a cemetery a couple days ago.
Is this serious?
Yes.
Okay.
Because now everyone knows where I live. Find out where I live, you guys. I live right next to where Jimi Hendrix was buried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I go to see his grave sometimes, because it's literally in my backyard. So that's why I was in a cemetery. And I was talking with my boyfriend, because we went together, and we were talking, the Pizookie they sell at BJ's, the pizza cookie? It's a pizza cookie. That's why it's called the Pizookie. And it was Tuesday, and that's half off Pizookie day. And I remember telling him earlier in the day, I'm like, oh my God, we should go to BJ's because it's half off Pizookie day. And he's like, yeah, maybe, whatever. And then we're literally in the cemetery, and I'm not joking, on a gravestone, someone's last name was Pizookie. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
And I was like, so we have to get a Pizookie now. And he's like, yeah. So we got one, and it was delicious. But I was just like, whose last name is Pizookie?
Yeah, and it's like that moment when you look at it, and you're like, okay, do I have to go get it? Or do I have to never get one again? Or do I have to, like, that's where my brain goes when I see like, these things.
We gotta eat a Pizookie.
Yeah.
In my belly right now. And it was a great choice, but I'm just saying, that's like an example of like synchronicity that just happened that was kind of like weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no. So things like that most people don't notice.
Yeah.
We do, but other people don't.
Or here's one for you. So I was driving out to Sumner for the mic yesterday, and at some point in the car, I was like, I want to hear Kendrick Lamar's "Damn," and my grandfather's name is Ken.
Okay.
And as I turned the corner and put the album on, in graffiti, Big Ken. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like trying not, and I've had so many moments like this now where I'm like, I just go like stoic, and I'm like, don't react, like.
I know, oh my God, there was one where it was like December before I moved here, like, November before I moved here, like I'm in the process of, am I gonna really move here, blah, 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 and there was literally like a car wash sign, like, the letters that go across the screen or whatever, and it got stuck on WA, and right before the WA, there was a green arrow pointing to the WA,
no.
and it kept like, it was stuck there, and it just green arrow to WA, and I'm like, I get it, okay?
Yeah, oh my goodness gracious.
But most people would be like, it's over their head.
Right, or they're totally not even paying attention
to
like, that kind of shit
whatever,
at all.
Yeah. But things are not, the universe works like that. That's exactly how it works. Like, people are like, oh, I need a sign. And then they get a sign, but they're like, that's not a real sign. I'm like, well, then what is a sign to you?
Oh, right.
You need, like, someone to come on the street and go up to you and, like, tell you what to do, because that, maybe, but probably not.
Yeah, dude, I oh gosh, there's been so many of those things, and then like color's another huge one that I love.
Okay.
Like sometimes like color text and
what's that called? That thing where colors have certain feelings or numbers have certain things. What is that called?
I wasn't always that. You know what's funny is my ex told me about that.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I used to have a college professor that taught math this way, where he would do it in like all these numbers, and I was always like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Just I was really like nonchalant with it, and then since I've had my psychotic episode or whatever, like coming out of that, like I have that now for sure, just in terms of like I'm always like breaking down numbers and trying to like route if there's any divine meaning in them. Like this one, when it turned to Sam's mic, right, like I was like, oh fuck, I gotta go now, kind of thing. And not funny thing, but I was in therapy when I found out about Sam. I was in therapy. I actually was talking about Sam.
Oh my God.
I was actually talking about Sam, and I was like, this guy was there for me, I'll have to reach out to him soon, and all this. And then right after that, when I leave therapy, I'm going to the Seattle Art Museum.
Oh yeah.
And, I found out on Instagram, and I was just fucking broken. I called a friend and all that, but I kept walking to the Sam. And then when I get there, it's like, oh, I don't have enough money for a ticket. Okay, fuck that. But I still, with Sam specifically, that motherfucker's not like I feel his spirit all around me all the time. Like today when I was driving over here, it was like 5 a.m. to something, and I was like, oh, 5 a.m., that's Sam. Like, it looks like Sam.
Oh, it does.
Right?
Yeah,
like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I see Sam. Like, oh. And all that. And, like, if I bomb up here, which I didn't do it tonight, but, like, I think last week, I had a really rough set. And afterwards, I was just like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Just like, to see him. I'm like, you fucker, man.
Yeah. Like I said, this was my first time coming back since, like, the last time I was here, he was here, right?
Right.
So, oh my God. Yeah, it was like a little sad when I came in for me. I always have to disclaim that. Yeah. But then though, I had fun and all of that, and it was good to see, the regular people and everything. But yeah, it was just kind of like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was. That hit me that was such a blindside, because he was the last guy I saw before I went to LA. I hugged him like right out there. I won or like qualified for the karaoke competition, and then I even saw him when I got back, I even saw him when I got back. So the fact that he like passed away like that, like, it still doesn't feel real, I
know, it's like, yeah, I've done comedy on that stage before too, but I've done a duet with Sam on stage too. You know what I mean? Or like, I had a drink with him right there, or whatever. He walked me to my car. You know what I mean? It was just like stuff like that. Like, I can't even believe like Jeff remembered my theme song. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you remembered it, because Sam told you to do it when I featured. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was him.
he was like such a good guy, just entire, because the way that I like started my relationship with Sam is I went to squash beef with him because I had this fake phony beef and after I squashed it with him, I remember talking to him. I was like, so you like comedy and all this? He's like, well, I like comedy, but what I really like is karaoke.
Yes.
And I was like, dude, are you serious? You little cheeseball, you. And then he goes up and he does it, and you're like, oh, this guy's, the way that we gets that like release valve from stand-up, he gets that from karaoke. And I did musical theater in high school. So I have not sang since then. And when I stepped up after him to sing, like, it was back, baby. Like, it was there. Like, I felt all the catharsis of it. And I did it a couple times, you know. So I'm gonna definitely have to keep doing karaoke, just not even just in his honor, but totally to honor him, you know.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. Yeah. It's just so interesting that I mean, this mic wasn't even going on for, you know, a super long time. It only got popular like in a, you know, few months too. But that it's like still going, like, because I was so concerned about that. I was like, is it gonna stop? But no, I'm glad, you know, Jordan and Steven, they're still doing it. Yeah, those guys really took it and ran with it, and I'm glad they did. And I mean, I haven't met ownership here yet, but I mean, they gotta be some badass motherfuckers, you know. This is the only spot on the east side I've ever. Yeah, it's the only spot I know of on the east side, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? There's no way, because in Bellevue, there used to be the Parlor, you know, but now, yeah, they gotta expand that, man. They really do.
Yeah, it's untapped markets, and obviously there's a need.
Right.
You know, so.
Just take someone to go up there and do the talking, which would be Sam, you know. Sam was great at that, like going and talking to like all these owners.
And he had a lot of things in the works, you know. He did have a lot of things in the works. So he was excited to do more. He was excited to do more, for sure, without a doubt. So that's why I'm glad this one's continuing. Yeah. But yeah, I know we didn't talk about my comedy too much, but this is not just about that. And I'm so glad that we expanded outside of just the Big Time Mel, because that's just one hat I wear. Right.
That's how I know you, Big Time Mel. But your name's Melissa, right?
That's my legal name.
Your legal name, okay.
Yeah.
What's your full legal name? Can you even say that?
Yeah, oh sure. It's not confidential. I mean, I have a joke about this, but my first name is Melissa. My middle name is Anne, very basic of my parents. And then my last name is very Italian, and it's Scafidi. It rhymes with graffiti.
Really?
Yeah. And
so M-A-S.
Mass. What does that mean to you?
Backwards, it's Sam.
Oh my God! Stop!
No,
Time up!
That's crazy.
Well, I never thought of that, but thank you.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I mean, that's the type of stuff I do mentally. Like, I'll look at
cool,
the acronyms and then just.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't go by my real name, because people give me a hard time about the stage name, but I love it, and I've had it since day one. And the whole reason is it's a joke going on stage, because Big Time Mel, I picture an obese man. I feel like most people who don't know me picture an obese man.
Big Time Mel? Oh, jeez.
Because, like, there'll even be comics who follow me. They're like, who thought Big Time Mel was going to be a 5'2" Italian girl? Because you think it's going to be a big guy. So I want to do the opposite of what I look like, right?
Right.
And also, my last name, people always mispronounce it. And the mob stereotype. So or at least back home, so I just really want to have a stage name. It's so easy to remember. It's so easy for people to find me then on social media. It's fun. It really, I feel like, encapsulates who I am, because I'm a living contradiction. Because my name is such a contradiction of what I look like. So I like how that's a lot of my jokes.
Okay, can we get into one more thing too?
Yeah.
So we have 3 names that are given to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Most people.
Do you think there's a lot of meaning in each one?
Well, you have to look at what does your name mean. Like, Melissa translates to honeybee. Okay, that's just the literal translation of it. All right. And then meanings behind those names. Well, then there's the whole, if you want to get into this letter means this number and life path and all of that. So that could be one part of it. I feel like you would really like that. Okay. And then my middle name, why was I given that middle name? There is a story behind it. And then my last name, okay, yeah, that's obviously from my father, his heritage, all of that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my last name means something too. So it's like, what are the meanings of these names? What are the life paths of these names? And how does that, for me,
mm-hmm.
how does that also correlate with your birthday? Because to me, your name and your birthday, because they kind of happened at the same time, I feel like they correlate.
Whoa.
Right?
Wait. So you mean like the month, the day,
and the year.
Or you could flip it depending on, well, we're American, right?
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, that's freaky. Because to me, like, my working theory is my name is Sage William Cameron.
Okay.
I've always hated the middle name William.
Why?
I just didn't like the way it sounded when I was a kid, you know, and I would always be like, I wouldn't want to tell people about this name. To me, what that kind of represents is my dark energy, the demonic side to me, the not good, but it's a part of me. You can't you cannot have the yin without the yang,
Oh, yes.
And that is my dark side, William, and it's very interesting when I start to like think about like all the contexts I know William in, and they're all like fucking, oh God, like,
yeah.
My grandpa's name was William, and he wasn't like the best grandfather growing up, very absent. I was just in this whole situation where William was like the worst fucking, that whole, never mind, I don't even need to get into this LA shit that I was involved with. But yeah. So Sage is like the youth. That's like my ego. That's like how I see myself most of the time. But Cameron, this is like what was given to me. This is the like in stone, like when I'm gone, that's how I'm going to be remembered. The divinity, maybe, but there's also divinity in each one, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I like that, the yin without the yang, the light without the dark. I mean, if we're not embracing the dark parts of ourselves, we're just a half.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that the dark parts of myself, like, let's say bad things I had to go through, obviously gave a lot of my light. So if I'm not going to acknowledge those things, what am I doing?
Right.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
It's like it's the whole concept of, and we don't have to get into it, but the whole concept of shadow work.
Oh shit.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't have to, do we?
Yeah,
God.
No, we don't have to, but like that's just where the light comes from.
Shadow work.
Yeah.
Can you give me an elevator pitch?
Oh yeah. So shadow work is like the things about yourself that you're ashamed of, kind of. So, like, things I don't like about myself. Negative qualities that I have, things,
So like the things you would tell a Scientologist.
But you don't like telling people.
Yeah.
That, you have this negative trait, right? Okay. So you have to like really like accept it because it is a part of you. And then, yeah, maybe you can work on it, if it's something you want to change. If you want to change it about yourself, maybe you don't, if you, really like but you have to look at it in the face, and it's something you don't want to look at. And then when you do look at it, then you kind of like, I always give the analogy of you're sitting down and having tea with it.
Oh, shit.
I invited you over for tea, and now, let's say my anxiety. For such a long time, you were an uninvited guest, but this time I'm inviting you, and we're going to have a conversation.
Oh.
Why are you here? Why do you keep showing up? What are you trying to tell me? You're saying I invited you. I didn't invite you, but now I am inviting you. What do you want?
Yeah.
And that conversation that you're having with this thing you don't like about yourself is the only way it's going to go away, transmute, at least be accepted, right?
Be able to at least see it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, you have to look at it.
Ugh.
And it's a process totally, but that's the light and the dark concept that I was trying to get across. Yeah.
Yeah. So the shadow work, what's the other work? Light work?
Oh yeah, there's light work. I look at that, and these are, if someone wants to say, oh, it's something else. Again, this is what I'm saying it is. Light work is being a light worker. I just did that right now because I brought joy to people.
Right.
It doesn't have to be me doing a Reiki session on someone. It doesn't have to be that. For a long time, that's what I knew how to do, so that's what I did. And then when I realized I'm done with this. Like I said, now it's something else. And maybe tomorrow will be a new thing. I don't know. But being a light worker, that's shining your light on others, having other people being able to shine their light on you, right? It's very communal to me.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking a long time.
How long have we been going?
I know.
Oh, an hour 19.
Oh, that's pretty decent.
That's pretty decent. It's 10:08. Do you want to wrap up, or do you want to go?
We can wrap up. We can wrap up.
Sounds good. Anything else you want to tell?
I mean, like, people, if they want to follow me on my socials, right? That's always a wrap-up note. So on Instagram, I'm Big Time Mel. That's going to be big_time_Mel. That's my main medium of sharing. I need to post a little bit more, but you can find me there. I would love to be friends with you. And yes, my DMs are always open for questions. I always get lots of questions.
Feel free to hit her up for some questions about anything and everything. I know I got a lot of questions. All right. Thanks for coming on, Mel.
Thanks, Sage. I had fun.
All right.